What's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler and the time has finally come. Today we're counting down the top 10 best sneakers of 2019 with number 1 being the sneaker of the year. It's been an absolutely insane year for sneakers. We've had some awesome collaborations and some great retros, as well as some really cool new silhouettes that I think a lot of us didn't even expect. But just like at the end of every year, we have to count it down and find out which sneakers were the best. This list is made up of 10 shoes that I picked based on influence, popularity, and innovation. In fact, I think every single pair on the list more than deserves to be on this list because we've had so many excellent sneakers this year, it was really hard to pick. And for the number 1 spot, the sneaker of the year, not only is it a shoe that I like a lot personally and I think deserves to be in that spot, but I also ran a YouTube poll and you all picked that shoe as well, so it's pretty much a unanimous decision. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Number 10, the OffWhite Nike Dunk Low. Just like 2018, 2019 saw a lot of sneakers released from the Virgil Abloh OffWhite Nike collaboration. However, unlike last year, most of the OffWhite Nike sneakers to drop were not from the original 10 collection. 2019 also saw a pretty large shift in Virgil Abloh's design aesthetic, and that's very evident in the sneakers that he released. And to be honest, I kind of feel like a lot of the OffWhite Nike sneakers that dropped this year kind of missed the mark, and it's mainly because he changed up the aesthetic so dramatically, and it just didn't seem to work as well as the original 10 collection did. But near the end of the year in December, Virgil Abloh and Nike really redeemed themselves with a remake of a classic sneaker. The OffWhite Nike Dunk Low released in 3 different colorways on the same day, and 2 of those colorways were from the OG Collegiate pack. The pine green pair, however, was not an original colorway. It was actually based off a high top dunk. And not only were most of the colorways inspired by the original dunks, the actual cut of the shoe and the materials that they used were also very reminiscent of the OGs. And in my opinion, that's what makes these shoes so special. Obviously, you've got some off-white hits covering the top of the shoe, but the base of the sneaker is a retro Nike Dunk. And I think that because Virgil focused on creating a shoe that was much closer to the original than a prototype variant of a sneaker, that really got a lot of people's attention. I mean, it got my attention and I love it. I think it's awesome. The off-white details on this shoe, in particular the lacing system, can be somewhat polarizing, but I think that the overall package is excellent, and for that reason, it's number 10 on the list. Number 9, the Nike Air Max 1 Missing Link. As far as animation-inspired collaborations go, the Air Max 1 Missing Link is one of the best. Just like most of the other animated movie collaborations that Nike has done, like the Box Trolls and the Paranormans, this shoe is based off an animated movie by Laika. Laika is an animation studio started by Phil Knight, the founder of Nike's son. So obviously there's a connection there already, but the fact that Laika puts out such good movies and the fact that these collaborations always come out so cleanly really makes me appreciate them. This Air Max 1 in particular is so well executed, and the colorway is based off the main character of the movie. All of the materials on this sneaker are actually found on the clothing of the main character, which I think is so cool. You've got suedes, you've got flannels, you've even got corduroy-like material on the midfoot panel, and what I find most interesting is that you've actually got leather wrapped around the midsole. Every detail on this shoe is so well thought out, from material choices to colorways, but in my opinion, the best part about this sneaker is that you could look at this shoe and think it's a great looking sneaker without knowing anything about the collaboration. The Air Max 1 Missing Link is a highly underrated sneaker, and it's definitely deserving of the number 9 spot. Number 8, the Nike Adapt BB. Ever since Back to the Future, people have been begging for auto-lacing shoes, and in 2016, we got those auto-lacing Nike mags. But of course, the price for a pair of auto-lacing Nike mags is 60 grand. And then in 2017, Nike released the Hyper Adapts, but even then, that was a $720 shoe. But finally, in February of 2019, Nike released the very first relatively budget-friendly auto-lacing sneaker. Not only were the Nike Adapt BBs relatively affordable and somewhat easy to get, the shoe was also a performance basketball sneaker, and NBA players actually play in this shoe, which means it can take a lot of weight and a lot of pressure. The Nike Adapt BB features a battery, a motor, and wireless charging capabilities inside the midsole of this sneaker. It then has these very thin but also very strong wires underneath this outer shroud that actually come together when you press the buttons on the side. Thank God it was charged. I was worried I was going to press the button and nothing was going to happen. This shoe is the realization of a dream that people have had for decades, and it's so cool to be able to actually own a pair of auto-lacing shoes. Now, they might not look the best and they might not feel the best on feet, and the battery sometimes dies, so you're kind of stuck for a little bit, but it's a great shoe overall, and the technology that's inside this shoe is truly incredible. In my opinion, the Nike Adapt BB is the most innovative sneaker of 2019. Number 7, the 2019 Bred Air Jordan 4s. Okay, so this is actually the only shoe on the entire list that I don't have in my own collection, which is kind of weird because it wasn't a hard sneaker to get. But regardless, this shoe definitely deserves to be on the list. Michael Jordan originally debuted this iconic sneaker in 1989 when he was playing against Cleveland, and the last time this shoe retroed was in 2012. Also known as the Black Cement Forest, this 2019 release featured the original box, or a box made to look like the original box, as well as Nike Air branding on the heel. Even though the 2019 Bred 4 release was one of the largest Jordan brand releases of the entire year, it still sold out immediately. When it comes to iconic Jordan retros, the Air Jordan 4 Bred is one of the best. Number 6, the Air Jordan 1 SB LA to Chicago. The Air Jordan 1 is my favorite sneaker, and I say that pretty much every time I talk about a pair of Air Jordan 1s. So because of that, sometimes I can be pretty critical about colorways that are on my favorite shoe. The Air Jordan 1 SB LA to Chicago is not only one excellent colorway, it's got two. And that's because if you didn't know, this LA themed purple and gold paint actually wears off to reveal a Chicago colorway. Look at that, it's dope, it's such a good concept. And no, it's not the first time it's been done to a pair of Air Jordan 1s. We had the Lance Mountains from a couple years back, but this is one of the most well executed versions. You've got one of the most classic Air Jordan 1 colorways of all time and a pretty excellent new colorway. The Lance Mountains just started out as a white pair and a black pair. That was it. What I love about the LA to Chicago is how versatile it is and how good it looks in any situation. When you first get the shoe, it's all purple and gold, it's fully lacered out, and you can definitely rock with that colorway. But when you wear it, paint slowly rubs off the sneaker and starts to reveal the Chicago colorway. And even midway through the transition, it looks amazing. So you can wear the shoe as a fully Lakers colorway, as a fully Chicago colorway, as sort of a midway between, and also one of each. The LA to Chicago Jordan 1s are an awesome pair of shoes and will definitely be one of the most coveted colorways moving forward. Number 5, the New Balance Bodega 997S. First off, I should say that there are two colorways of this shoe, and I'm putting both of those colorways on the list. This is the No Bad Days colorway, and there's also the No Days Off colorway, which unfortunately I couldn't afford. Both of these shoes are collaborations between the sneaker store Bodega and the brand New Balance, and they both feature an amazingly constructed upper made up of beautiful materials. 2019 has kind of been a renaissance for New Balance. They've had the New Balance Bodegas, they've had Kawhi Leonard's Omnis, both of which have sold out, and not only that, they've also resold. It really seemed like New Balance was doing a lot of things right in 2019, and because of that, we've got some pretty amazing shoes. The thing that I love most about this collaboration is that this shoe is just such a crazy mashup of colors and materials and paneling, and it all goes together so nicely, and it's just such a beautiful looking sneaker. I am definitely excited for more Bodega and New Balance collaborations in 2020, and I'm also very excited to see what New Balance does moving forward. And on a side note, this is also one of my most worn sneakers since I've gotten it. Number 4, the Adidas YEEZY Boost 380 Alien. The 350 V2 is one of the most popular and hyped up shoes of the last decade, and after a couple years of the 350 V2 being on the market, people were hungry for a follow-up. And in December, we officially got that follow-up with the YEEZY Boost 380. While the overall silhouette of the 380s is pretty similar to that of the 350 V2s, there are a lot of pretty major changes that make this sneaker a pretty major improvement over the 350 V2s. It's honestly just a bunch of quality of life things, like making the cut of the sneaker more comfortable, changing up the ankle area, and sweeping up the heel. In my opinion, the 380 is noticeably more comfortable than the 350 V2s, which were already a pretty comfortable shoe. The 380s feature a full prime knit upper with this really interesting organic pattern that definitely is the reason why this shoe is called the Alien. It also features this pretty large clear plastic detail on the midfoot of the shoe. Another change is that Kanye decided to remove that iconic ribbing detail on the midsole of the shoe, which honestly makes the midsole rubber a little bit softer, which means the boost can expand a little bit more. It's a very unique look, and one that not everybody loves, but when you look back at most of the Adidas YEEZY sneakers, people didn't seem to like those shoes until a couple months after they came out, when the hype really started to get to them. So I'm sure in 2020, when we get more colorways of the 380s, this will become one of the hottest sneakers of the year. I love the fact that Kanye and the Yeezy team are experimenting, trying new things, and taking risks, and I think the 380 is a pretty great sneaker. Number 3, the 2019 Air Jordan 11 Bred. People are always arguing about whether this colorway is the Bred 11s or the Playoff 11s. I don't really care either way. I kind of just defer to the Breds because it just is shorter and faster to say. The 2019 version of this shoe is the 5th time that we've seen this colorway release and the 4th time it's retroed. And it's also rumored that in 2019, Jordan Brand released 2 million pairs of this colorway, which is just an insane number. And the craziest part is that they all sold out. That alone qualifies this shoe to be on the list, and when paired with the incredible history of the Bred 11s, this shoe could reasonably be number 1. Now, the reason I didn't put this shoe at number 1 on the list and put it at number 3, even though it's like my 3rd favorite shoe of all time, is because it is kind of just a retro. And that's definitely not a bad thing. We've just seen this shoe and this colorway before. The other two sneakers ahead of the shoe on the list are new takes on old sneakers, whereas this is just kind of a retro of a classic shoe. One of my favorite things about this retro is that they tried to make it as close to the original release as they possibly could. They even gave it the OG box. The 2019 release features the higher cut patent leather like the originals, which can be a point of contention for some people who grew up in the retro era, but I think a lot of people do prefer this. Also, red and black just look so good together. In fact, I should have probably worn this to the Star Wars premiere. I wore the Dunks because they had some green, like green lightsaber sort of stuff going on, but this would have been a better choice. With all that being said, the Air Jordan 11 is well deserving of the number 3 spot on the list. Number 2, the Sacai Nike LD Waffle. I've actually seen, as I'm sure you guys have, a lot of other top 10 sneakers of the year lists throughout the last month and through November too, which is kind of weird because November isn't the end of the year. And a lot of people put this shoe at number 1, which I totally understand, and I even considered doing it myself. But as great as this sneaker is, it just didn't have the influence that number 1 had. And I know I'm giving it away by this point, and I'm sure by process of elimination you guys already know what number 1 is, but let me get to the good parts of this shoe. I need to stop talking about number 1. The Sacai Nike LD Waffle is, in a lot of people's opinion and my own, the best sneaker to come out of the Sacai Nike collaboration. This shoe is a mashup of the Nike LDV and the Nike Waffle, and that becomes very obvious when you see the double midsole and the double paneling on the upper. The thing that I love most about this shoe is the concept itself and how well that concept actually came together. When you think of a collaboration, you think of two brands coming together and coming up with a new idea based on their previous experience. But you don't ever really think of an outside brand coming to one big brand and mashing together two of that big brand's concepts. But the main reason I think this collab was so successful is because they picked silhouettes that just go so well together. The double midsole in theory isn't a great idea, and brands like Balenciaga have done that on the Triple S, and in my opinion, it looks terrible. But on this shoe, it works out really, really nicely. The overlapping paneling on the upper could be really messy, but the fact that it all comes together so cleanly is a testament to the creative genius that was behind this shoe. I mean, this shoe has 2 tongues. That's a weird detail, but it looks great on this shoe. I don't understand it. The Sacai Nike LD Waffle is an excellent collaboration and a beautifully executed shoe. The only downside to this sneaker is that it's not very durable. And finally, at number 1, the sneaker of 2019, the Travis Scott Air Jordan 1s. I mean, come on. We all knew it was coming. The Travis Scott Air Jordan 1s are by far the most influential and also one of the most coveted sneakers of the entire year. From a distance, you might just think that this is a brown Air Jordan 1 with a backwards Nike swoosh. But there's so much more to it than that. First of all, they must have given Travis Scott a lot of creative freedom to turn that swoosh around, because messing with the brand's logo is not something a collaboration is usually allowed to do. Brand logos, especially logos from brands as big as Nike, usually have very, very strict design rules. You really can't mess with the brand's logo too much, and when you look at collaborations like the OffWhite ones or even the Sacai Nike Waffles, their logos are still facing the right direction. Travis Scott was just like, nah, I'm turning that swoosh around, and he literally did it. And that's crazy that they let him do it. What Travis Scott is doing with Jordan Brand right now is so similar to what Kanye did with Nike back in the 2000s. Travis Scott is quickly becoming one of the most influential people in sneakers of all time, which is incredibly difficult to do. And I think the Cactus Jack Air Jordan 1 highs are the pinnacle of his work with Jordan Brand. I think this shoe is almost perfect. Not only does this shoe have a backwards Nike swoosh, but it also has super premium materials making up the upper. The Travis Scott 1s also feature a hidden stash pocket around the ankle of the shoe, which is such a crazy place to hide it. You've got stitched ballistic nylon around the ankle area, you've got the hidden Cactus Jack branding on the medial side, and you've also got this really nice buttery suede. And not only does the Travis Scott 1 look good, it also made major waves in sneaker culture. This is one of the most faked sneakers of all time. There are so many pairs of this floating around that just aren't legitimate, and they also look almost identical to the original. And because of that, awareness about fake sneakers has really grown, and it means that people are much more careful when they're buying sneakers secondhand. And to top everything off, out of every shoe that released in 2019, the Air Jordan 1 Travis Scott is one of the most expensive on the resale market. The Travis Scott Air Jordan 1 is not just a Jordan 1 with a backward swoosh. It honestly is one of the most important sneakers of 2019. And with that, we not only wrap up the top 10 best sneakers of 2019, but we've also officially crowned the Travis Scott Air Jordan 1s as the sneaker of the year. So at this point, I would love to know your thoughts on this list and which shoes you think deserve to be on the list but just didn't make it, or vice versa. So let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you all so much for the incredible support in 2019. It's been a wonderful year. I can't thank you guys enough for that. Make sure to subscribe if you're new, and have a happy new year.